Does the microphone work? Okay. Good morning, colleagues. Thank you for being interested in our product and our cloud. My name is Nik Larin, and I work in the development group that work with PostgreSQL and Azure cloud technology. I'm very glad to present here in Moscow in my native language. I'm very glad to present this information for you, as I do in many other countries, but I'm very glad to talk to the very strong Russian community. I'm going to share with you what we are doing to Postgres in our cloud, what are our plans and what are our achievements as of today, and why, in fact, Microsoft is interested in Postgres and other databases with open source code. I work in a group that is adapting databases with open source code in Azure Cloud. Postgres for us is the main DB, mostly because this product has a strong position at the market and because of the interest of our potential and current clients to manageable Postgres database in Azure. We also offer MySQL and MyDB. This one is coming, but Postgres for us is DB number one. So, what have we achieved and what was the logics of Postgres adaptation? We started offering this project in May last year. We call it preliminary version. The preliminary version is different from general availability, as we do not offer guaranteed SLA and all the other particularities of the product, and they are available from the moment of the release of the official version. When we decided to adapt PostgreSQL and adapt the product with the open source code, we decided to first develop our own version of Postgres, and then we decided to adapt to community edition of Postgres, so we decided to select the second option. If we would go for work, it would be very difficult to contribute to Postgres community, and the logics of product adaptation is such that Microsoft would like to take not only the things that community contributes to Postgres, but we would like to put in our contribution as well. So what we've done to Postgres and other products, MySQL and RNDB, we took community edition in the way it is available in the open core. We put it to Azure and started offering manageable versions of this product. So what are the advantages of this approach? All the languages, all the platforms, all the means that work with Postgres Community Edition, they will work with our service as well, because we offer an IP address and a port, and you get an access to your own version of the server with all the advantages of this service working in the cloud. We're going to discuss those later on. Apart from that, we offer vertical scalability of Postgres. Within several seconds, you can scale up or down computing capacity of Postgres and change the size of the disk where the DB is stored. Apart from that, we offer the full range of security measures for the sample being managed in Azure. We're going to talk in more details about that, and we offer full certification in Azure Cloud, which is may not be of great interest for Russian developers that offer products in Russia today. But as you open new countries for you, or as you start offering your products to foreign markets, the certification that we offer in Azure will be very relevant to you. We also have IP Advantage program in Azure, and it protects you and those who buy the products you develop on the basis of Postgres in Azure from all the patent risks. It means that if a company comes to you or to your customer with a patent sue and says that you're using Postgres in Azure and they have a claim for $1 billion, for example, and that will be not your problem, that will be a problem of Microsoft. And last but not least, as you might know, one of the advantages of this cloud is that we have presented it in the number of regions, in a bigger number of regions comparing to other clouds. And before the end of the year, we are going to enlarge more. Well, before switching to the next slide, I wouldn't like to be the only person speaking here. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask them, because if we want to communicate, I'm open. Sorry, please wait for the microphone. I'm going to tell you more about all the things that I've mentioned already. Good morning. Well, you said that your Postgres is present at various regions. How do you provide for the latency between master and slave between regions? So you're speaking about replication, right? Well, we are going to discuss replication later on. We do not do that as yet, but this is in our plans. So your Postgres is inside the availability zone or between those. So you're talking about availability zone now, okay. It means, there are several regions and there are availability zones, and there are local regions, and we are going to discuss all that later on. As of now, we do not have neither availability zone nor replication between regions. Okay. One more. Could you please tell us, there are some details, particularities to storing personal data, but I haven't seen a platform in Russia. Well, I would like to talk more about Russia. In fact, we were supposed to be two presenters, me, the representative of the developers, and the representative of Microsoft.Russia, to answer these questions about Russian space specifically. If you have a specific question, you can take my contacts, my business cards are just here. I will redirect this question to the Moscow representative of Microsoft. I would not like to take this question myself, because my answer can deviate from reality, because, well, I do not know everything about the Russian situation, unfortunately. My name is Mikhail. My first question is that, well, right now you're using Postgres in preview regime. Well, this is my name for it. Do you know the time frame, time horizon when you are going to offer it in SLA, the 30th of March? Okay. You also said that you are adapting Postgres community. When Postgres 11, say, comes out, how easily you are going to put it over Community Edition? So, you mean when Postgres 10, Postgres 11 comes out, what do we do? Okay, thanks. Good question. As of now, our service offers two versions, 9.5, 9.6. We are actively using 9.5. Unfortunately, we do not have the strict time horizon for 9.6. Maybe we will have to fine-tune something more or better in our platform, because we need to guarantee the functionality. On top of that, probably you understand that our engineering resource is now focused on general availability that we are going to launch on the 30th of March. So the situation is as that after the 30th of March, after we give the general availability, we are going to have M-2 versions. So when 10 comes out, we are going to support 9.5, 9.6. After 11 comes out, so we will switch off 9.5, and we will give the notification 11 months before 9.5 will cease to be available. And I think that it is enough time, 18 months, to switch to the newer version.
One more important thing is that imagine after Postgres 11 will be issued, what time will it take when it will be accessible for us? We're planning 90 days after the issue of the new version, the accessibility in cloud. And we think that 3 months are a real time for great accessibility for community edition. My name is Michael. Could you please tell what is the form of Postgres in real life right now in your cloud? Is there any modification? Is there a possibility to open a virtual machine with one instance of Postgres in non-cluster regime without replication? So how can we preserve integrity of data? How can we not lose the data? Speaking about the defined questions, I will mention all this in my slide, but answering on your question, what do we have in the cloud? Now I'm in Portal and I look at Azure, and if you go to Portals, you will see Postgres there. If you fill in the form, you will receive your gray Postgres, where you will use your language and create databases. In Portal, you can create 1 to 5 to hundreds of them. We don't have replications for now, and this is not important actually, comparing to the virtual machine. I will talk about this in 2 slides. When you use prompt, and we support prompt, so you can create patch, and through the patch you can create 100 servers if you are interested in it. And the standard server 9596 is accessible. So I mentioned that part of questions will be answered in my presentation, and now I see that I will explain you the things that you have interest in. So how can we, or what did we do in our service? Before, when there was no Postgres or other database, our cloud had only error-seeker DB and errorhouse. 2 applications on the basis of the same cloud platform that allow creation of servers with high availability, high security, connectivity, and all other features needed for any database server. When we were evaluating other types of database servers in Azure, with Postgres, we've stopped on the use of the current platform because it has the main basis features. So if we were not using this platform, we were forced to make features that are already here. So we just took core and integrated the database. The plus of such approach is that we're taking all the positive features from the platform that exists for 6-7 years. And the minus is that we cannot introduce any changes into the platform before we test it with all other databases. Now I want to speak about our solution, and the categories that you see on slides are not corresponding to the real categories in Portal. Now we're developing a new business model, and I'm now explaining the new business model that is not acceptable at the portal for now, but in 2 weeks it will be fully accessible in portal. So I don't want to waste your or mine time, because we just need to wait 2 weeks, not more. What will be changed? When we suggested the preliminary version in May, one of the main aims was to provide our products to our clients, potential clients, to distribute it and to receive their evaluation. And one of the strictest evaluations was that our clients don't understand compute units. Our clients are still working with cores, and this is the preferable solution. Now we're changing to we're letting the cores away, and we can recalculate it into processors. After we introduce this model, we are going to virtual cores. In the basis category, we are suggesting 1 or 2 cores, and the basis category is predefined for basis testing or for easy things with minimum load. The next category is the standard, where we suggest guaranteed operations of the IOPS of basis categories, and they don't have any warranty. We can supply up to 32 cores. In the new model, we've made the new generation of Azure, the generation 4 and 5 processors Intel of hardware. The users will see what processor will host their Postgres version. And the last category is optimized with extended operation memory. The quantity of IOPS is proportional to the disks. So if you need more IOPS, you need to have more disks, more storage facilities. Now I would like to go in details about the service and about the pros of use of the service. And here I want to cover all your questions, or the most of your questions. I start from the safety from the very beginning, because this is the key feature. If we don't provide any safety, we cannot sell our functionality. We're working on the basis of Postgres. You create users with standard media, and you use these users. Connections are protected through SSL, so technically by means of TLS. Each server has its own firewall. You can open everything or close everything, or you can adjust the features of firewall, and it is distributed in the whole product. For those of you who came from Windows, we will support PowerShell in the next 2 or 3 months. Virtual networking. We support also virtual networking in the endpoints of Azure, virtual networking in the regime of the preliminary version, and I hope that we will support GA regime in 1 or 2 months. And the last is the coding of data on disk. When the data is in Azure, it stays secure with algorithm AS256. So starting from the moment when the data is entered into Postgres in Azure, and up to the moment when it leaves Azure, they are coded. On this slide, you can see, and I don't know whether you can see it or not, because we had here so many details. But the essence is, Azure has 2 regimes of support of virtual networks: the full support when you create a server or virtual machine or something in virtual network, and there is also a concept of endpoints in server of virtual networking. Here we are not supporting full networks, but still we are integrated into the network, and all the features of network are available. If your application is inside of the virtual network, it can be intercommunicated with the server. But we're not supporting the connection with your on-premise server, the center of data, and we're not supporting Express Route with Azure. The product is now under certification, and it's normal for preliminary version. We have a certain set of certifications, but not every certification is made for now. They are under audit right now, and our general policy for certification is not to collect certificates that are of no interest to anyone, but we are responding to our clients. So the clients who use the services. Like I mentioned, there are clients who need HIP, and there who are developing applications for European market, and we are certifying HIP. Now I want to speak about the high availability level. I just want to tell you how we are protecting your data in Azure, and I think this will be the answer to your question about replicas and about the use of our service. The architecture of service is the following. When you are sending your query, it goes to the point that will describe the address of the service. And then we can define Postgres, MySQL, or other product. Then the query goes to the certain server that is provided for you. The first thing that can happen in our product is the calculation possibilities, and the disk storage are divided. We can see the fault of one of disks, because we are storing 3 copies of your database for you free of charge, and accessible for you. One of these 3 copies can draw back. If it is not actual, we are not supporting the non-actual part, but you cannot see it perhaps. But after you created your set of Postgres, and before you delete it, you have 3 copies on the level of storage. The second thing that can happen with your service, the compute can fail. Therefore, we need to recreate it, to create a new, and to make it understandable for service and for a new node of compute. So this is how it happens. We're recreating this, and the service will be shut down for a short time. And this inaccessibility can be in cloud. This is fully normal. The cloud application should be developed as cloud application, and they need to take into account that server can be inaccessible because of inaccessibility of internet, of cloud. There are too many components to provide warranty of accessibility of service. That means all applications should be developed with the secondary possibility to re-establish connection. The dump time should be in the frame of this recurrent contact. This takes several seconds, and in 95% of cases, these are 30 to 40 seconds of compute time. By the use of the same technology, we can provide decrease or increase of calculation capability of your Postgres. It all depends of whether you need more or less cores. You can use prompt for it, and it is executed in the same way as the high availability. If you go from 2 cores to 8 cores, we create 8-core node for you. And after the 8-core node is ready, we can switch you from one node to the other. It takes several seconds, not more. That means that your queries are loaded to the new node. Perhaps you have some questions so far? Because it's better to ask your questions right now and to speak about the things that are interesting for you. Do I understand correctly that the underhood of it you have not Postgres but Cosmos DB, and Postgres is up? No, we are not working with Cosmos DB. This is only Azure storage. If you know storage service of Azure, through the isolation level we have an Azure storage. The thing is that you are not using the storage of Postgres, and all the database is in Azure storage. Yes, this is so, and other classical models like master-slave are not working here, and fault protection is on this level. Yes. Speaking about Azure storage, how it is replicated, synchronous or asynchronous? When in the moment of commit, what will I have in the moment of commit? It's made synchronous. Is it not providing for latency? You will not see it. It was one of our conditions, preconditions. I don't know how to name it. So internal contracts between the servers in Azure, in Microsoft, state that when we develop this architecture of any service, we discuss anything that we will need from Azure Storage and Azure Compute and from other services. And one of the demands here is that all the replica and switch between the replicas should be not seen for the observer. And we're not interested in how it is performed, and the availability should be also very high. You told that the data on the disk are stored. Where is the key stored? Are you asking me whether you can use your own key? Yes, perhaps. For example, the key is generated automatically by Azure, and it is stored in Azure. It's not seen, it's not visible for you. How can the administrator of Azure see it? Because the key should be stored somewhere. Yes, it is stored, but also as your data, we provide warranty that no one will get access without prior notification. So that means that I can manage the access to the key, but I don't know where the key is. Yes, you cannot manage it because it's generated by Azure automatically for now. Because one of the queries is, may I use my key, my own keys? For now, not. No. It can be a possibility, and perhaps it will be realized until the end of this year. And one more question about HA, high availability. How the node is defined? How does the node define that a certain node is accessible or not accessible, available or not available? Is it a bottleneck? No, it's not a bottleneck. It was just a simplified diagram with one node, so the high availability is practically guaranteed because we have a redundancy there. Just I would be forced to create control train and tenant train to answer your question. There are health agents in this architecture. There are many of them, and like hawks, they are following all the nodes and defining their health. So I am just simplifying.
Could you please tell us what are the overheads for encrypting? If there were no encrypting, how high the performance would be? Well, I can't tell you. In fact, maybe we tested that, but I don't remember. Sorry. Thanks. As to indirect data, I do not have information because I don't remember performance encrypting as one of the factors that is impacting performance. If we have multi-zone, usually the drop in performance is 30 to 40%. And encrypting, well, sorry, I don't remember the exact figures. More questions? Now, backup. In this slide, I'm telling about things we have today and things that we will have available in our service in 2 weeks. For example, local excessive and excessive backup. It is not available in the portal as yet, but in 2 weeks, if you are going to create Postgres, you will have this option. Right from the very beginning, we had an inbuilt backup option in the service, so we create one backup copy for you and we store it. You also can config backupping, and you can state actually how many days copies are stored. The interval is 7 to 35 days. With the new features in the portal, you will be able to state local and geo-excessive storing for excessive copy. It means that the copy will be stored in a different region, that is, for example, 100 kilometers from your native region. Service offers standard monitoring and preventing for Azure. We added metrics for monitoring the computing capacity, the space of the disk you are using, how many IOPS you are using, and you can actually set the preventive node. For example, you want to receive a notification on CPU load over 50%, and you will have a standard notification that you can get from Azure portal to your email. We can even develop the advanced logic for notification using logic apps. We also offer several options for migration of data to our service. In the service, we have all the standard services available, like PGDump, PGStore, they are working. We also have a special agreement with Attunity, and they offer Attunity Replicate for those who use our service in Azure. They offer it free of charge. Usually this is a paid product that they offer for migration, but for Microsoft users, right now they can go and download it. The link to this product is available in docs. What can we expect in the future? The encryption on the slide. So let's talk about our plans for the future before summer and up to the end of this calendar year. So probably you understand, as we are releasing it on the 20th of March, this is the first step of the services maturing, and then we need to add more and more to this product to satisfy the requests of those who are already using these products. As of now, we have thousands of users, and many of them use this product in production. Today, the service is available in 22 regions of Azure, including Northern and Eastern Europe, and I think they will be most popular in Russia because of geographical closeness. On the slide, you can also see the regions where 4th and 5th generations of Azure hardware is available. Before the end of 2018, we want to add transition between categories basic, standard, and optimized. Today, if you create basic Postgres in order to switch to standard, you need to create another server. So this is one of the most frequent questions. When are we going to have this option? We decided that in preliminary version this is not a mandatory requirement, and the majority of our customers agreed to that. So we are going to release it in several months. Before midsummer, we are going to release a service to support the endpoint virtual networks. I've already talked about that. We are going to have replicas for Postgres reading. This is the scenario, the one that needs reading replicas. We're not talking about high availability here. High availability is supported by service. Those who ask for reading replicas, they want to be present in other regions where applications only send queries to databases and no writing is performed. Then we're going to offer additional certification for those who work with Europe. GDPR is an important one. And we're going to have additional certification for zone availability. Preliminary. We're going to have preliminary versions for zone availability, for identification of security threats, and we are going to start with identification of security threats with the overall logics that we are going to take community edition, put it in our platform, and then we will start elaborating on the services that we already have, those that are much loved by SQL Server customers. And security threats identification is one of the most popular requests. We are going to offer it in Postgres. And finally, workloads analysis in the server. Again, this is one of the functional opportunities that we offer in SQL DB. Well, on this slide, I hope that they will be made available for the participants of the conference. Here I list the contacts that you may address if you want to try the product or if you need more information. We offer a demo version in Azure, and here there are more links to documents where you can ask questions about the product, links to where our open code is stored. Not much of the code as yet, but it's only the beginning. You can get more info about the product there, and Twitter, of course, we use it extensively to exchange information. Questions? How are you going to implement replicas? On the basis of replication mechanism, or like in Aurora on the basis of storage? Well, we already have it implemented it on the basis of storage. Right now we are going to use the inbuilt Postgres mechanisms for storage. Well, in fact, replication like now it is fit for HA, but it is not scalable because we may come across conflicts. Two questions. First is about the data processing centers in Russia, and that is why Russian companies cannot work with that. And what about another question is about the time frame for backup storage. Do you have historically any time frame longer than 50 days, longer than 35 days? Sorry. Do you have a need to store backups for 35 days? What is the justification for the need to have a longer storage? I'm really interested in that because there are very few customers who ask about that, just, really few out of thousands. And we always ask why they need extended storage period, because we are assessing the need. Well, for example, according to current Russian legislation, we have to store data for longer than 6 months. So it is not fit for Russia. Well, it is not mandatory that you need to store this data in backups. Well, as your storage is not Postgres but an external one, do you have Postgres format or your own format of data that you use there? Why are you asking? Well, it is about the performance of the database, the query processing time, and they're tuning their queries to formatted Postgres. You change the storage format, so it should have its particularities, and somewhere it should be quicker, somewhere it should be slower. Well, we do have our own storage format. We do not have a universal formula to that. And if it's slower, quicker, please tell us, because we actually tailor, we customize our relationships with customers, and we try to fit to how the customers assess this format. But how do you assess the format? How do you assess whether it's slower or quicker, how the transactions are processed? Well, we assess it at both component and end-to-end formats. But in fact, there are components, as this is a cloud solution. I should have actually included a link at the previous slide to the blog where we explain how we troubleshoot the performance of Postgres in Azure. It is described, and there you have quite a number of steps that are not related to the service that we offer. Okay, thank you. So maybe you will add it to the slides you are going to provide for the conference website. I will. I would like to pick up on the previous question. Is it Postgres in cloud? So, for example, you launch a regular instance, regular binary code of PostgreSQL, which, in terms of data store, just uses your abstract cloud storage. Is it Postgres or is it not Postgres? It is Postgres. So it is regular Postgres, which is launched at Unix-like hardware. Well, it is Postgres in the way you can get it from postgres.org, but the rest you described pretty much exact. So all the abstractions, you were very specific. Thank you for your presentation. Well, you described something very similar to alpha or beta, and you offer us to become your beta testers. Does Microsoft want to move to this version? Because to us, it means moving our DB as well. What I mean is isn't Microsoft trying to deploy their big services on the basis of Postgres? So thank you for the question. I agree that this is a preliminary version, and deciding upon what are we going to include to this preliminary version and what we are not going to include there, well, this is a complex question. We are deciding upon Postgres in the cloud as a preliminary version, depending on the customer, because some customers are not interested in our version if it is before beta testing. If you make a GA, come and talk to us. Well, and this is up to them to be of this kind of position. So they are only interested after we are in GA. You may hold the same position. And the same question is, well, this is wishful thinking, in fact, but we do not have resources for that. So we have a lot of ideas inside Microsoft on how the service may be applied, because Microsoft uses this service. Microsoft is huge, in fact, and they have various options as to how they can use it. We work with them, but they haven't, not a single one, I think, has taken a decision to move to Postgres. So we do not have a de facto case. Thank you for your presentation. My question is partly about releases and implementation. You actually are talking about globally scalable service. Is it about queries, writing queries or reading queries? If we are talking about DML load, is your service scalable? Well, global scalability, first of all, by that we mean accessibility globally in various regions of the world, and other services, other functions will be added. We do not have, for example, replicas for reading. We do not have service for geographically distributed backup, and this feature is coming. But the service is scalable already, because you, for example, can scale down or scale up computing capacity. You can create it in various regions. So in that matter, it is scalable. More questions? Thanks for the presentation. You said that if instance is not working with Postgres and you're using another machine, how is it happening? Virtual machine? Sorry, could you please explain? For example, we have a virtual machine that has Postgres launched, and we provide excessiveness of data using 3 replicas. If something happens to a virtual machine, then queries are not sent. And how much does it take to create the virtual machine? How transparent this process is for the user, and what is the downtime? Downtime is 30 to 40 seconds. It is not guaranteed, because in less than 5% of cases, it may be longer than 40 seconds, but the average is less than 10 seconds, as far as I remember. I have a simple question. What Linux distributive you use to launch Postgres? Sorry, I will disappoint you, but you could actually obtain this information yourself. As you could see from the slide, we adopted the platform for Azure SQL DB and Azure SQL Warehouse. We've put it last year to Postgres. At that moment, this platform, this is public information, it works at Azure Service Fabric, and at that point of time, it worked at Windows only. It means that our Postgres is operating on Windows. And that came unexpectedly, right? What is the main point of attraction from the commercial point of view? Unfortunately, the comment is off the microphone. Why those who work in Postgres should suddenly become your fans? Why do you think they will migrate to the cloud instead of staying with Linux, not on Windows? Why do they have to take this decision?
Thank you for a great question. It's a correct question. So the general logic of Microsoft states that all the potential clients of Microsoft, the existing clients, they are interested not only in Microsoft products like SQL Server, but they are also interested, and they will be interested, in a broad spectrum of products. If we will struggle against this, and if we will state that SQL Server is the one and only solution in the world, we will lose our clients. And this is not the best thing for us. So Microsoft, during the last 3 to 4 years, after the new CEO, is thinking about our clients and about our potential clients' needs relating to what they want to see in the cloud. And they say that they want to see Postgres, MariaDB, SQL. The other projects are insignificant compared to this. So we are now not thinking about the new adaptation in cloud. And for now, Postgres is leader in this list for them. Speaking about Oracle, Oracle is not a database with open source code, unfortunately or fortunately. So Oracle is a separate question. One more question, please. Or even questions. Actually, I have a practice of use of Azure Postgres for Postgres, and I have a lot of questions actually. The first question is, and we already talked about this, what about data centers in Russia? Do you plan the existence of data centers in Russia? So, or it is your principal position to avoid this zone? This is the question of Russian specifics. I'm not aware of this. I know that there is no data center here, and I don't know whether it's planned or not. But we don't have any specialists from Russia here, because I did not have any time to speak about this before. I was thinking that the specialists will be here, but this is not my fault. And the second issue is you spoke about monitoring. You told us that we can take a look at CPU at RAM. What about the specific metrics for Postgres, auto vacuum, BG writer, and so on? For now, we don't have anything like this, and it's not planned. And I suppose I just hear about this query for the first time about the metrics of Postgres introduced into the cloud. Because when I used this, it was I needed this for fine-tuning, for me to understand the lacks of system. But if we're working with clouds, I think it would be appropriate thing to implement. I hear this for the first time, and the clients that I was working with, they were not stating this. So, last question, perhaps, for today. Everyone is scared. Okay, no, still. I want to ask about certifications for the GDPR. We're waiting for the release in May. Or is it the business logic of the application? In May, product will be officially certified for GDPR. That means that if you are developing your own application and certify it for GDPR and it uses our service, your full solution will be GDPR certified. So if I don't use your database, I need to use it. No, but if you develop something, what is GDPR? Someone came to me and told me delete my data, and I delete the data. So theoretically, your application can make anything with this protocol. But the main thing, it doesn't store this type of data. So all the components of your solution must be certified. Thank you very much. Thank you, Nik Larin. I think you are the leader for now as for the questions.